Welcome to the National Women's Fitness Academy podcast. We're here to talk about women's health, female hormones, body image, and all things health and fitness.
Hello girls, and welcome back to another episode of the Women's Fitness Academy's podcast. I'm your host, Siggy, one of the WFA's educators and a women's online coach. Today, I am joined by the lovely Izzy, who is the founder of Ambitious Bodies, based in Perth, but also online, who is here to help women live life by design and not by their disposition. Izzy, welcome, babe.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited.
Thank you so much for joining me. Now, I want to start today by asking you, what does living by design mean to you?
Great question. I guess this is, like you just said, it's such a normal thing for me, but, rewind back to where I started my journey, like living by design didn't mean anything. And essentially what that means is to actually build and create a life where every day you wake up and you feel excited. You want to wake up, you want to start your day, you love what you have planned, even though it's hard, you enjoy it, there's going to be challenges each day, but overall you're really happy with the way things are going in life. And the only way for that to be created is, by the choices you make and the disciplines that you have. And so living by design essentially just means to create the everyday life that brings you love and joy and excitement.
I love that. What brings enjoyment for you right now?
Oh my God, what doesn't? Honestly, like I'm just in such a good place right now with my personal life and my career that everything is awesome to put completely forward, compared to where things were. Every day I get to train for 90 minutes. I don't have a time cap on how long I spend at the gym. And to me, that's my thing for the day. I get to walk my dog once or twice a day in this beautiful weather with my feet off, either on the sand at the beach or at the park. And so I get that sunlight, I get that grounding, I get to play with my puppy, and I get to essentially work from home. So the hours are really flexible. And I can grind, I can be on my computer for 10 hours straight, or I can work 3 hours and go for a 90-minute beach walk with the dog. I have that flexibility because of how hard I have worked to get here with my career and the delegation within having a team. So yeah, there's a lot of things. I'm very, very lucky. There's a lot of things that light me up every day, which I've worked very hard to get.
I love that you mentioned that. And so too often people don't see the back end story of where we start off or how it all began. Do you mind sharing that? Because I know it wasn't just an overnight success. You would have put the hard yard into where you're at right now to enjoy all the little things in life.
Absolutely. So way back when in the days, I think reflection is so important because the more you reflect on where you were, the more grateful you are for where you are now after the hard work paying off. So back in the day, let's say back to high school, really, really did not have a good time at all. I didn't have the best relationship with my sister. We fought all the time. So there's a lot of toxicity in that situation. And there was toxicity at school as well between, mean girls, let's just summarize that. So high school was a really, really horrible time for me. I begged my client and my mum to move schools and I wasn't allowed. So when high school is supposed to be fun and exciting, it was just hell for me. And I couldn't wait to get out and just build my own life where no one could control what I did. So I think that's a big part of where my self-discipline stemmed from, is I never wanted to be that miserable again. So I went to uni. I didn't get in doing what I wanted to do. So again, I wasn't really happy there. I was studying something that brought me no joy. I was broke. I found the love of my life, which I'm still with now. And so I moved in with him. But at 17, he started FIFO. Sorry, I was 17. He started FIFO. So here I am living on my own south of the river when I previously lived north. So I'm far away from my parents, my friends. I'm going to uni doing something that I hate. And again, I just felt horrible, like just crap. I didn't enjoy what I was doing every day. I had no money. So my idea of a healthy diet, or me dieting because I wanted to lose weight, which every kid did back then, was a crunch bar from the vending machine at university. And then I'd get home and I'd have a chicken Kiev and like 500 grams of sweet corn. And that was me trying to eat healthy, ignoring the fact that I was having, entire packets of chips and eating my fillings at nighttime. So yeah, uni wasn't fun. I always loved sport. And I think a big part of me just being miserable as I got older is I kind of, as anyone does with sport, you kind of let go of that as you grow up. So rewind further, I used to do circus. I did AFL, dancing, you name it. I did like every sport there was, but circus was a really big part of what I loved. And it was like 6 hours a week, which is a lot for when you're in high school. So getting into TE, I had to give that up to be able to do TE. And I feel like everything just kind of went downhill from there. So giving up movement, not realizing how important that was to my health and my happiness, everything just went downwards. So anyway, fast forward, with the love of my life, living with him, he's the happiest person I've ever met, just does what makes him happy. And I kind of had this epiphany, like, why am I living this life that sucks? Like, I don't want to be here. I'm not enjoying myself. I haven't made the friends I've wanted to make. And I just realized, like, I don't need to be doing this. I don't have to live like this. Like, here's my partner who doesn't care about anything. He's just so happy and amazing. And here I am, like, criticizing myself to pieces. So I left that. I went back to Subway. So I was at Subway 6 years total through my high school years and young adult years. And I'm so glad I did. I had a stress-free job, and that allowed me to get back into my fitness. So I started finding myself again. I started training twice a day, which wasn't ideal. Back then it was all about, the rib cage and the thigh gap. So really under eating, but eating healthy and training crazy. And I loved it. I loved feeling like myself again, super fit and just living the life how I wanted. Even though I wasn't building a career, I felt in control again. And then, surely enough, when you finally start looking after yourself, everything else just happens from that. So people started asking me, what are you doing? You look amazing. You're so energetic, rah, rah, rah. And then they're boom, like, why wouldn't I study personal training so I could help other people bring themselves out of those deep, dark holes? Started studying PT, left all the little jobs I had in between that. And then, everything just kicked off from there, and my PT business grew. There's now 4 PTs that work with ambitious bodies, and I kind of just manage everyone and do the more trickier holistic health, functional health kind of stuff. Here we are.
Here we are. Wow, what a fascinating story. I love the fact that you also mentioned that Subway was your best time of work. Yeah. Who would have thought? It's so funny because people usually like stick up their nose about jobs like that, like, oh my God, Subway, like, oh, McDonald's. But people don't realize it doesn't matter what job you have, as long as you're enjoying what you're doing and it's giving you that, that oomph, that satisfaction, why not?
Yeah, 100%. I think people, again, coming back to this idea of stress, like the stress has to be worth it. Like I was stress-free at Subway. Sure, I didn't have much money, but I was finally looking after myself. And so I felt so happy in that time that enabled me to fall in love with this career that I created. If I had stayed at uni, being miserable, hating life every day and just working and studying, I wouldn't have been where I am today. So yeah, that's one big message I have to send out to people is don't settle, in any aspect, health or career. You've got to always be working on what makes you feel good.
I love that. So inspiring. And you know what? A lot of people need to hear that, because a lot of people do end up in jobs that they don't enjoy, and they do find that they're just so stressed and nothing comes along, like nothing good comes along from that.
Absolutely.
It's crazy to think. So with the personal training side of things, actually the circus stuff, I am so fascinated with circus and gymnastics. Let's take it back there, because I'm sure aspects of the circus would have tied in really nicely into fitness right now. Yeah, cool. Let's talk about that. So first of all, what made you get into circus, and how has that helped you to, do the stuff that you're doing right now?
That's actually a really powerful question, because I didn't even realize it until we were talking about it now. But I think that really paved the way for a lot of things for me in career and personal life. So I was a kid always upside down. Like I'd be the crazy kid upside down on the monkey bars, jumping off the tallest building and just doing crazy stuff. So I was always a bit of a crazy kid. And then I went to Cirque du Soleil with my parents and I fell in love. Like I've never been so mesmerized in my life. And every time I go, I get that same nostalgic feeling again. And that just ignites me to never stop. So yeah, Cirque du Soleil. And then we found a circus school. And yeah, it all kicked off from there. So it was 2 hours, 3 times a week. You do lots of tumbling across the floor. You do trapeze, lyra, which is that circle in the air, the silks where you wrap yourself up and you fall down, really cool. And yeah, like what that taught me was total trust in my body, like absolute trust that if I stick to the plan and I just believe where my body is in space and believe, that mind to muscle connection, that I'm going to land it, or I'm going to be able to grab the rope when I need to. And I think that self-trust is what allows me to do anything in life that scares the crap out of me and just trust that I'm going to make it to the other side because I believe in what I can do. So yeah, that's actually probably a really, really important tool that has carried through my entire life from there forward.
So powerful. I love that. Who would have thought out of the circus practice that you would come out as such an inspiring and positive person from those practices?
Exactly. There you go. And that's to everyone who's done crazy sports out there. Like you might not realize how important they are when you're that young, but they really do mold into who you are.
Yeah, they certainly do. People don't reflect enough to notice how far they've come or what teachings they've had during that time to become the person they are today.
Absolutely.
I love that. So good. So let's bounce into the personal training side of things.
Yep.
So when you first started, what did that look like for you?
Oh, it was such a grind. So I started off at Raw Fitness, and it was a brand new gym. It hadn't even opened yet. It was just still an empty warehouse when I signed up. And so coming into a brand new gym, there was like 80, 90 members you had to book in for a free PT pack, which is awesome. Leads are a lot harder to come by these days, but you could imagine like having 80 to 90 names of people that don't care about you, don't show up to the session, kind of don't really give you much respect because you're just a total noob little girl. And it was just really tough. It was so tough. I was very lucky. I did have guidance already, and I stand by that always, guys. Everyone should have someone guiding them through their business. But yeah, just the rejection after rejection after rejection was really tough when you're brand new. But that's again a really important lesson for anything in life. Like you will get rejected every day, if not every week, and you have to be strong and resilient in facing that and knowing that it's not about you, it's about them, or it's everything else is going on as well. So yeah, that was hard, but I made my way. I got the gist of things, and I just loved it. I just loved it. I was lucky enough that my iTunes, this is back in the days before Pandora or Spotify, and my iTunes was playing in the gym every day. So I got to listen to my own music, and I swear to God, I really feel like that is what cured my depression, if I'm to put it straightforward. Like hearing my music every single day and being around people that want to be at the gym, it was just such an awesome workspace. And I've loved it. I've never wanted to stop PT. It is such an awesome career because people choose to come to you. They choose to be in the gym and they choose to work on themselves. And with that, there is so much positive energy, and you guys just bounce off each other. So yeah, that was in 2014, very, very long time ago now. And then things just slowly grew from there. So I had clients that were with me for years. So for example, Courtney Cheatham, she was in high school when she joined me in 2015. And she was just a naughty little brat, to be completely honest. And we joke about this all the time. She was a typical teenager, always late to sessions, would come in hungover if we had it on a Monday, never wrote her numbers down on her program, didn't track her macros, just typical naughty client that kind of didn't do anything right. But she loved training. And she was vegetarian, so she was kind of living off protein bars, which you can imagine is not the best diet. But anyway, long story short, she just evolved into this beautiful young lady, and completely flipped 180. Like, she's so smart. She's done all the right things. She's built herself up, and then she wanted to study PT. And I was like, look, if you want a job at the end of that study, like, I would love to have you, and the rest is history. So she's been with me now, since 2015. She's been a PT for 4 to 5 years now with me. I've lost track of time. And then, it's all just grown from there. And then same with the other 3 ladies, Casey, Georgia, and Tia. Again, they were my PT clients for, let's say, 2 years. And then as they study PT, it's like, do you want a job? And things have just sort of grown into there. So now I get to spend my time studying functional health and functional medicine, and being able to help those clients where working out and, tracking macros isn't enough. And as you would know, Women's Fitness Academy, you're working with those women that struggle with PCOS, endo, menopause, all these hormonally infected things. That's kind of where my energy and focus is now.
I love that. I love how organically it just happened. There was no force into it. And you know what? The best way of getting people to work for you is your old clients. And you build such a beautiful rapport through them, and the trust as well. So they trust you as a coach, but now they trust you as a mentee as well, as a boss, essentially. You brought up a really good point before about rejection, and I think this is something that is not spoken enough about, especially with new coaches, because when we first started in the industry, like you said, you're making the phone calls, people are coming in and out, people are rejecting you, they're not showing up. How did you deal with that? Like, what are some things that helped you overcome that?
That's a great question. Firstly, I'm going to be honest and say I cried. I remember like maybe one of the first few weeks, and I barely knew any of the other PTs. I just sat in this room with one of the PTs, Sarah, who I'm still beautiful friends with. And I just cried. I was like, this is too hard. Like, I can't do it. Like, there's too much pressure, rah, rah, rah. And like, I think it's really important to release that energy. I think when people try to tell themselves, everything's fine, and they try to hold everything in, that's when things build up and become problematic. But I think when you have moments like that, venting, whether it's yelling, throwing something, crying, I think firstly that is a healthy way of releasing that energy, and then catching a breath and going, okay, what is the next thing that I can do? What's the next thing I can do? What's the next thing I can do? So just breaking things down into simple step-by-steps of things that are going to help you get better at, whatever it is you're stuck on, essentially.
I love that. I remember, oh my God, we're going back so long ago, but similar to you, I would cry if I got rejected by, clients or potential clients, or going on the phones and doing the cold selling, like, hey, how's it going? Do you want a free session? Blah, blah, blah. And they'd be like, no, bugger off. And you just hang up and be like, oh my God, what's wrong with me?
Yeah. It's just part of the job. And I think, like you said, when I studied PT, you never got taught about that. I mean, no offense, I did business management with who I studied with, which wasn't Women's Fitness Academy. And I did the business course, but I do not recall being taught about, okay, so rejection is going to happen every day. Here's what might feel like. Here's how to work through that. I think that's so important, like you just said, but it's not addressed. And I think, again, that's why, the churn rate for PTs, I don't know what it is now, but back when I started was massive, because business just wasn't taught. And so you think, I've got all these skills and people are just going to throw money at me and life's going to be awesome. But then you get there and you're like, I have to actually ask these people for money. And that's another whole thing. It doesn't matter how good as a personal trainer you are. If you don't have the marketing and communication skills to help connect with that person about their values and the value in your service, then you're stuck. You're really stuck.
Yeah, communication is key. And I love that you mentioned that a lot of previous personal training academies, they didn't have much about business. It was like, who's your avatar? Who do you want to work with? And, the very like surface level shit, where now I feel as if it's changing. Like with the Women's Fitness Academy, we have like a whole module on business, and it's educating women around communication, especially around money. I feel as if money is, I spoke about this with one of the other girls, it's a very taboo topic.
Yes.
And people are afraid to express their prices or their value. And again, it comes back down to that rejection.
100%. And I think, again, there lies the issue is people are so funny about talking about money, and money is simply value of time, right? And that doesn't mean the time you spend with them, it's the time you spend on the entire process that helps that person. And I think because people are funny about talking about money is they go for the cheapest thing that they can think of, or the client comes in and says, I only want to spend $50. So people will scramble and go, oh, okay, well, we can do this then. And so they sell themselves short just to get that client signed up because they don't believe in their own value. So yeah, money is an awkward subject. And I think to blame for that is all the movies where every rich person is evil, is where I think a big part of that comes from. Like money doesn't grow on trees. Money doesn't grow on trees. What's the other one? Money is the root of all evil. So yeah, I think money has been evilized, and so people feel uncomfortable talking about it, when really is just a currency for the value of work and effort we put into something.
It's that energy exchange. You get what you put in and you get what you put out. And yeah, so many people do have to overcome this fear of talking about money because, like you said, it's the service that you're giving a client.
I think as well, and again, I don't really remember learning about this, even though I did, is how you present a package is so important. If you go in there like, oh, it's this much a week, or if you go in there saying, look, here's the pain you've been really struggling with. Here's what's going to happen if we achieve that goal together. It's looking like it's going to take us 6 months. Here's the 6-month process of what that's going to look like if we work together. Here's the cost of that package, and it's really about how you do that sales process that shows the value in what you're doing. Again, it always comes back to what is the client actually needing from you, what's the value that you're working with.
What's some work that you've done around, communication around money?
That's a great question. So I had a business coach for 2 years. I spent a massive amount on working with that business team, as well as playing with Facebook ads and short courses here and there. And that's just the thing, when you value something, you don't really care how much it costs. If you think, if I invest into this massive project, I'm going to make sure that I get the value out of that and I'm going to get the return. That's how we need our clients to feel. So yeah, again, like I said before, having a mentor, having a coach, everyone needs one. If you want to be good at something, you need to learn at someone who's doing it great. Otherwise, you're walking blindfolded in the dark. So yeah, bottom line is there. Get a mentor that asks you questions about money and makes you feel uncomfortable until you feel comfortable about talking about it, I would say.
That's so important because I used to work previously with certain mentors and I didn't feel as if I was felt uncomfortable. And this sounds so silly, but sometimes you do need to be placed in a really uncomfortable position when you're having conversation like these or any type of conversations, because otherwise how are you going to deal with your own shit if you can't deal with other people's shit?
Yeah. How are you going to break through into that new level of living and comfort if you don't first go through that level of discomfort, right? You've got to break through something. Otherwise, you're just going to stay at the same place that you are now forever. And my coaches were very good at doing that. They loved calling bullshit. No, excuse my language, but that's their thing, right? I'm going to call bullshit. You're not being honest. And that's the kind of way that they would speak. And so you're like, oh, okay, X, Y, Z. And then that's kind of how they wanted you to speak to your clients, at the right time when they try to tell you, no, everything's all right, or no, it's okay. For you as a coach, you better go, I'm going to call bullshit. You're not okay. Let's talk about that. Let's really understand why you want to lose fat loss. Because I know it's not just because you want to wear that dress. There's more to it than that.
Yeah.
So it's that next level of cutting through the bullshit, of breaking through into that discomfort, because that's where that breakthrough will come from.
It also ties in really nicely into business as well. Too often, we will have those hard conversations with clients, but we also need to have those breakthroughs with business as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, your business cannot grow further than you personally grow. So personal growth and self-development has to happen for your career to flourish, right? Like no one is going to be confident selling anything, whether it's their own PT package or something else in their workplace, if they're not feeling confident in themselves. So yeah, personal growth and career growth is hand in hand.
Mm. Would you say there was a time where you didn't feel confident?
All the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an ongoing thing, isn't it? Like there's times you feel confident and there's times where you don't. And essentially confidence is just feeling good about your ability of something. So I'm really confident when I train. Like I am tunnel vision. I don't see anyone around me. I will go and grab a dumbbell, even if there's sweaty men all around it, doesn't bother me. I'm really confident there. But there'll be situations where I will feel extremely not confident if I'm just not good at doing whatever that thing is. So again, it's not like you're either confident or you're not. It's you will have good or bad feelings of your ability at whatever that thing is. So if you want to get more confident at being or doing something, you have to do that thing to get confident at it. As silly as that sounds, as straightforward as that sounds, it really is that simple.
It ties in really nicely to when you started PTing, when you started calling those 90 people or 80 people and feeling rejected. And because again, like when we first started in industry, we didn't get taught these things. We had to do it on our own. And we weren't handhelded by a mentor or a coach at the time. It's literally, hey, it's on you to get this business moving forward. So again, it's building that confidence by doing that. So then you have those ripple effects moving forward.
Exactly.
It's crazy to think how far you've come, from being in high school, not enjoying it, doing the circus stuff, multiple jobs, and now like a booming business. Where do you see yourself going with, the personal training business right now?
Yeah, awesome. And just side note, I did have 11 jobs.
11?
I had 11 because I always had 2 or 3 jobs at once. Like I did babysitting, I did promo work, I worked at Subway, I then worked at a receptionist 2 days. Like I was just everywhere because I was just hustling whatever I could to make money to study PT. So I've done it all in that sense. Where I'd like to go. So since growing my team to 4 PTs, I really just want to focus these next few years on upskilling them. Like I said before, like macros and training programs is awesome and we master that stuff. Like we love doing that stuff, but I really want to go further than that. I want to bridge that gap between having to see a PT or go see your GP or go see a naturopath or a nutritionist. Like I want to teach people, like, firstly, the in-depth detail about micronutrients and the power of food in itself, but then also kind of opening those gates to, like I said before, self-healing. So understanding what your symptoms can be related to. I don't want to get all complicated here, but basically some of the stuff I'm learning at the moment with Coach Jake Carter is just like listening to the different symptoms of your body and how they're related to nutrient deficiencies, for example. So, for example, eczema and dermatitis can be related to an imbalance of particular bacteria in your gut microbiome. So having this knowledge, part of our PT course, I think is just so powerful if it can stop people from needing medications from the doctor. So that's kind of where things are going. It's allowing our clients to self-heal through education and knowledge within all the beautiful things that this earth has to offer us.
I love that. It's not only transforming externally, but internally as well.
Huge. Yeah.
And we know for a fact that is one of the main reasons why people come to us. It's not just to look good in a bikini. It's like, hey, I actually want to feel really good about myself from the inside.
Absolutely. And I think like it's really hard for people that can eat whatever they want and they don't gain weight and they look awesome and they feel good. It's really hard for those people to need to look deeper, right? I mean, if your health is awesome, you're like, I don't need to XYZ. But when you're someone like myself who has an autoimmune condition where if I eat too much gluten or if I have too much sugar or too much dairy, I pay serious consequences. We can't live a normal life. We have to be so much more onto our nutrition all the time and onto our inflammation and all that other stuff. And as I'm sure like I think it's, what is it? 1 in 10 people have autoimmune conditions now, or is it 1 in 6? Sorry, 1 in 6 have autoimmune. 1 in 10 have PCOS. 1 in 10 women obviously have PCOS. So autoimmune conditions and you know, all those other things as well. Like, it's so common, and so it's up to us to start learning about this stuff. You know, everyday people, not just GPs, everyday people need to understand this stuff so we can prevent as opposed to have to treat in the future.
Let's dive a little bit into that. So what are some of the difficulties that you found by being, by having autoimmune disease?
Feeling lost and out of control, I would say, would summarize it. So I started getting pain. So where it all kicked off is I started getting pain in between my shoulder blades in 2018. I'd wake up at like 3 a.m. in just agony. Like, this pain would come around my ribs and I couldn't breathe. I would twist and I'd move and I just couldn't get any pain relief. And it just kept happening night after night. So I would start getting just so upset, like wake up crying. Nothing would give it relief. I started obviously losing sleep from that. And no one could help me. Like, I saw chiros, physios, osteos, spent so much money on physical treatments, and no one could tell me where this pain was or what it was from, which to me, like, is totally mind blows me. Like, that this AS, so ankylosing spondylitis, it's not commonly known enough, even though I know plenty of people with it. So yeah, that kind of really instantly flew up red flags to me, that how can I have been seeing all these specialists and you know, professionals that have studied medicine, whatever, for years, and yet none of them thought of this condition despite me telling them my symptoms every session. So that's where things started. Things got worse. I got told to have, you know, NSAID, so just like ibuprofen over the counter. As you can imagine, that stopped being strong enough. I'd be able to feel the second it stopped working. So then I went on to naproxen, which is a prescription anti-inflammatory, and it's like any other drug addiction, right? Like, it helps at the time and you know it's not right, but also it gives you that relief of pain that you so desperately need. So I got into that cycle of needing the naproxen. I'd be able to feel when it wore off and be counting down the seconds where I could take it again. And in that time, like, I just got more and more and more sensitive to different foods. So long story short, obviously, I'm sure you guys learn about this stuff, but NSAIDs rip holes through your intestines, right? So they create that permeable leaky gut, and therefore food molecules and toxins and that kind of stuff can seep through your gut and start reaping havoc on different body parts. So like tissues and organs and your brain and all that kind of stuff. So inflammation just goes crazy, which causes those flare-ups where it becomes agonizing pain. And it can be, for me, it could be through the back, through the ribs, in my hips, pelvis. It just changed all the time, which made it really hard to treat because it wasn't the same spot. So yeah, that went on and off since 2019. And again, I was just like, how is this right? Like, this is what I'm getting prescribed, but I know this is making me worse. And then I'm so lucky. I found Coach Jake Carter at the end of 2020. I bumped into him and his girlfriend that I know, and instantly, like, mind blown. So he teaches functional medicine, looking at blood work and all those other kind of testing that you do. And yeah, signed up to his 12-month course and just learned so much about self-healing, herbs, again, like I said, micronutrients, and all the other stuff. So looking at yin practices, how important it is to get your body back into the parasympathetic state when we're all stuck in that fight or flight sympathetic state. And the spiritual stuff, the trauma stuff. So trauma that might have happened to you as a kid or a child or a teenager, and how that could be impacting you right now. So looking at everything holistically and realizing, okay, this is why I'm in so much pain. My body is just in attack mode, and understanding the psychology, not just the physiology of what was going on. Absolute game changer. So instead of having to take these injections that cost $200 a week for the rest of my life, I only had to do 8, and then I luckily got off them. I was able to do all this functional healing with Coach Jake Carter, and I'm in full remission now. So yeah, some natural remedies there. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to talk about them because they're a little bit woo-woo. Yes or no?
I'm down. Let's do it.
Okay, so have you heard of Cambo?
Yes.
Okay, so I swear to God, Cambo cured me. Cambo put me into remission. So for those of you that haven't heard of it, it is from the Amazon, and it is frog poison that you burn little holes in your lymphatic system and you open them up, and the frog poison goes in and you purge. You feel like absolute death for just under an hour, and you essentially purge. And while you're purging, things come up for different people. Like for my friend, dark red stuff came up for her. For me, it was white, so we think it was mold, could be candida, as well as the actual medicine inside the body working on the injured area. So for me, we did the lymphatic burns on my back, and that's where the frog poison went. And yeah, since I think by the second session, I really noticed a difference, and I've done 4 total, and I cannot tell you how magical that was. Like, horrible at the time, but I mean, I haven't had any back problems since then. So again, that brings me back to the point of it was candida or it was mold. You know, like if I didn't know all that and learn about all that kind of stuff, and I just chose to inject myself with an immunosuppressant every Friday for the rest of my life and eat crap food and, you know, live in that horrible, painful, unhealthy cycle, that could have been my life if I didn't learn about all this other stuff. So yeah, I want to open people's eyes to, like I just say, self-healing is a nice, delicate way to kind of say all this other cool stuff you can do.
I love talking about this stuff because, again, too often we're too easy to just take the medication off the counter and then just, you know, pop the pills. And you know what? No judgment for anyone who does that, because I've been there, you've been there. We didn't know much what to do any different. But now there's so much information, there's so many better resources to actually find out what the underlying issue is, instead of being so blinded by it and going, oh, I'm just going to take a pill for the rest of my life. It's just like, actually, you have the choice to dive a little bit deeper into figuring out why you're feeling this way. You know, you can't just place a blanket on and, you know, play this fixed mindset, be like, oh, this is just my life. It's just like, I disagree with that. You can find the solution if you're, you know, willing to dig a little bit deeper.
Absolutely. And that's what makes me so excited to sit. Even though I didn't want a desk job, I said, like, I want to be a PT so I don't have to sit down. This stuff that I'm learning right now makes me so excited to be able to sit here for hours on end, because if I can really understand this stuff incredibly, and then I can teach a simplified version to my clients, and if that's going to allow them to get off the OCP and get their periods back and become fertile, if it's going to help them get off antidepressants or anti-anxieties by learning about all these nutrient deficiencies and imbalance in gut microbiome, like, that to me is the greatest gift that I could possibly give someone, is that ultimate self-healing that's going to allow them to just kick ass throughout, you know, the rest of their life. Makes me get all upset just thinking about it.
It literally gives someone the opportunity to open their eyes and realize, hey, there's more to life than what the pain that you're suffering right now. You know, it's not okay for you to be suffering forever. There's so many other ways for you to live your life. As you said, live your life by design.
And people don't know that, and that's what makes me like so heartbroken, is people don't know that there are other options. Like the amount of clients that come to me and they're on the pill and they have PCOS or endo, or they have, you know, bad skin or really painful periods, or they're irregular, and the doctor says, oh, you're okay, just take the OCP. I'm just like, what? Like, your body is screaming at you that there's something wrong, and this GP that's supposed to help us is telling you, shush, just take this pill and, you know, you'll be fine. And that's what breaks my heart, is, you know, women we just don't know any better, because this is what we've been taught by the conventional system. And when you know, contest what a GP says, a lot of people don't really want to listen to you, because what would I know over a doctor, right? So yeah, it's tricky. It's this gray matter of, okay, I know your GP said this, but how are you feeling with this advice? You know, and get them to answer that question, like, how is this method making you feel? Is it actually solving the problem, or do you feel like it's band-aiding it? So I guess it's allowing them to realize themselves that, hold on, I can do better.
I love that. And again, building that communication with them to make them realize that what's happening right now isn't serving them, and they do have the choice to make that change.
And that's the really tricky part. So yeah, hopefully all the women listening out there are now asking themselves these questions and wondering, like, do I need to be taking this, or could I be doing something better for myself?
There's always a way to do better, always. Whether or not you realize it, there's definitely a way. I truly believe that anyway.
I think the other tricky part as well is, and again, I say this from personal experience, when you are in so much pain, whether it's, back flare-ups or bloating, constipation, whatever your pain is, just mentally, anxiety, I understand when you're there, it really feels like you're never going to get out of that place. Like, I had days where I wanted to die, I'll be honest with you. I had days where I was in so much pain, or nights technically, that I would wake up and like be paralyzed and be like, I can't live like this. Like, I want to die. Like, that's how bad it got, that I was willing to stab frog poison in me. Like, people will get to that point where they're willing to try anything. And I think that, just if you're listening to this, understand that what you're going through right now, and if you're in pain and you're suffering, it doesn't have to stay like that. There are always ways to make things better. So keep looking, keep searching if you haven't found your way yet.
Yes, there's always hope, always.
Yes.
I love that. Awesome. What a great note to leave today's conversation. From all the conversations that we've had today, just leaving everyone with a lighthearted message that there is hope there, with whatever pain you've been suffering. But before we go, Izzy, where can our followers find you? How can they work with you?
Awesome. Yep. So you can find me at Izzy Beeston on Instagram, probably the best way, or our PT page is Ambitious Bodies. If you want to get in touch with me, you can either DM me through Instagram, or fill in the services inquiry form on our website, and then we can book a one-on-one call regarding anything really. If you have questions about your PT career, if you want to come onto our team as a client of our PT coaches, I'm happy to touch base with anyone from Women's Fitness Academy, or I guess anyone out there who would like to learn more about the power of self-healing, because I know I'm a PT, but I'm sure you can gather from this call that I think that there's so much more to it than training and macros. Like, nutrition is magic. It's absolute magic. It's medicine. It absolutely is medicine.
I love it. So good. What a great message. All right, girls. Well, if you enjoyed today's podcast, please make sure that you screenshot it, tag us at the Women's Fitness Academy, tag myself, tag Izzy. And then till next time, take care of your bodies. And if, you start feeling a little bit off, question it. Be like, what's wrong with me, girl? And start doing a little bit of self-reflection.
That is exactly it. Awesome. Thank you so much, Sig.